Welcome to Think Piece number 9 from Benjamin Wall. This is a somewhat comprehensive and detailed presentation about embedding the principles of diversity and inclusion into an organization, thereby strengthening its competitive advantages. The organizational performance will be raised by unleashing the potential in the diversity of people's gender, race, ethnicity, age, religion, and so forth. Ultimately, the potential in all of us. The approach in this video to fighting workplace discrimination and embedding D&I is as follows. Despite efforts for decades, discrimination in the workplace, intended or unintended, has stubbornly remained. This because it is rooted in the processes. Accordingly, solutions need to be located in the processes. The issue is more complex because processes are designed to promote an organization's competitive advantages. All organizations, whether for profit, not for profit, or in the public sector, have advantages internally in managing employees in such ways that externally they successfully work their market or public with goods and services, here termed products. Solutions for the inclusion of diversity in the workplace thus need to take account of the organization's competitive advantages and boost them to a higher level. The organizational performance will thereby be boosted as the reason to introduce D&I rather than moral arguments. It is to be noted that a better performing organization following the principles of D&I will work to the greater benefit of stakeholders and us all in society. To introduce D&I, a huge change management effort is needed to open up organizations, briefly addressed as the first topic in this video. For D&I principles to be lasting, they need to be embedded in the organization with policies that bite, processes that stimulate, and procedures that encourage. This is the second topic and is the bulk of this video. The push for D&I today needs heightened attention to diverse people as the highest priority. Ultimately, however, the solutions presented here will unleash the potential of all people to create competitive advantages and raise organizational performance to benefit society. To prepare the way for diversity and inclusion, change management initiatives in 3 key areas are needed. First, in the mindset of existing employees. Second, in recruiting and promoting the right people. And third, in setting goals and monitoring them. The associated change initiatives are generally well known and discussed elsewhere and should be self-explanatory. They are shown here for the sake of completeness and can be read by pausing the video. Solutions for embedding D&I in organizations are built around typical competitive advantages. 5 such advantages are considered here in terms of companies, but everything applies as well to all organizations. It will be shown that in pursuing these competitive advantages, companies can do too much of a good thing and potentially create both their own challenges to a better performance, as well as discrimination in the workplace. The solutions to raise performance and unleash potential are shown on a second slide. Beginning at the top, one aspect of the competitive advantage at quite a few companies is functional excellence in the technologies for their products and processes. Consumers benefit in that the consumption of the products, often in the premium or luxury class, like a Cadillac or Mercedes-Benz, raise their status and standing in the society. In this regard, the company has the mission to be best of class in its operations, often as an industry leader. Employees benefit in that they have the perspective to develop their careers upwards in a leading company in the industry. Best of class in the organization requires leaders who have the authority to define the functionally excellent technologies and subordinates who follow and learn from those with authority. In addition, all employees need to take the goals of the organizational mission to be best of class and make them into their own personal goals. Under these circumstances, the emphasis on leading technologies can result in applications which are technically superior, but are actually overdone because there is in fact no demand for them. In addition, the leaders developing their careers for more authority can come into conflict with one another. The potential for discrimination can arise if the company equates status with authority. That is, managers can be given authority who have a privileged status from their social position and education or work experience. Diverse people are restricted from this status and thus are not often hired or promoted. The barriers for diverse people in the society are reproduced in the company, and their potential is not utilized. Companies striving for functional excellence can embed D&I in the organization as follows. They recognize that best of class in the organization includes authority exercised in diverse ways from diverse people. Authority is at its best when acknowledged bottom-up for technical expertise and leadership qualities, rather than imposed top-down in connection with status. Best-of-class principles for D&I can be developed by a center of excellence and applied throughout the organization. Diverse authority is more likely to register what customers really want and develop appropriate technological applications. Diverse authority is also more likely to find, with less conflict, a balance in the goals amongst the leaders and for the organization. The first priority is developing and retaining the current employees. Along with the change management initiatives presented above, employee personas for each function, as developed by the function and the Center of Excellence, chart out the ideal career paths with the associated skills at each stage, including the D&I skills. The personas serve as orientation for all employees, both those developing themselves and those making decisions about personnel development in the company. Recruitment and promotion for job vacancies is the second priority. Along with the change initiatives presented above, the required skill sets can be derived from the personas, and candidates can be evaluated without considering status for achievements and potential in functional proficiency, the handling of authority, and fulfilling the mission, enriched with the best-of-class perspectives on D&I. Finally, rewarding and motivating employees can be based on two dimensions: the contribution to organizational performance and the contribution to fulfilling the mission, including D&I objectives. On the whole, the orientation to functional excellence can be expanded to include excellence in D&I. Another aspect of competitive advantage at numerous companies is standardization of both products and processes. Customers gain the all-around benefits of standardized products with features shown to be tried and true on the market, like a Toyota or Volkswagen. The values of companies with this approach are to meet the explicit requirements of customers and society, typically achieved by continuous improvement as a way for the company to keep pace with the evolving requirements of customers and society. Employees benefit from standardized work and employment conditions at an appealing level, including smooth and considerate teamwork and processes, mutual respect and sharing knowledge, regular training, and generous benefits such as insurance and pension. Every employee is responsible as the owner of process steps for which they need to fit into the teamwork. A smooth process flow requires that they coordinate their work with the process steps before and after their own steps. Knowledge about the requirements for each process step need to be shared with the process steps before and afterwards to ensure optimal process execution. With the focus on standardization of existing products and processes, there can be lack of creative innovation internally and externally. Communication and interaction are decisive to processes and teamwork, and the focus on standardizing can result in interaction norms reflecting those of privileged groups. Diverse people can be reduced to stereotypes and face microaggressions if they do not fit to the norms. Under such circumstances, diverse people are discouraged and cannot perform well, which is neither good for them nor for the company. Companies striving for standardization can embed D&I in the organization as follows. They recognize that processes and teamwork are more robust and resilient by means of the inclusion of diversity rather than fixed communication norms. Everyone becomes more capable in handling variability in thinking, behavior, and circumstances. The organizational support for embedding D&I comes from specialists who design into processes and teamwork the advantages coming from the inclusion of diversity. Building diversity and inclusion explicitly into processes and in teamwork allows for more variety, hence more creative innovation. Standardizing companies typically document their processes as the basis for the work, and the process specialists can write into the documentation the procedures to take advantage of inclusion. The specialists can also identify the circumstances and processes where discrimination is most likely to appear in order to eliminate it. Recruitment and promotion decisions can be based on process capability, resilience in performing under various circumstances, and values which now include the D&I elements as wished by society. Finally, rewarding and motivating employees can be based on two dimensions: the contribution to organizational performance and the contribution to embodying the improved values. On the whole, built into the standardization is the explicit inclusion of diversity. Another kind of competitive advantage is the mastery of new daily activities. Customers benefit from products which adjust to the specific requirements of individual situations, like a minivan or SUV with adjustable interior for the variety and transport of suburban families. The company strives to be the first mover in meeting the new kinds of daily activities, typically by applying new kinds of technologies in the products. Employees benefit in that they too are empowered to adjust their work activities to variable work situations, such that to some extent they can be like an entrepreneur in the company, termed intrapreneur. To work this way, employees are expected to exercise their judgment in deciding how to work, which they do largely autonomously. To raise their individual impact in the company, they should build a personal network and be involved in both sides of mentoring, as mentor and as mentee, which is key to personal development and thus organizational performance. The downside for organizational performance of this individualized empowerment is that employees can go their own way and not align with others. Regarding discrimination, employees, of course, do work together on tasks and assignments. The outputs of tasks need to be integrated into consolidated work results, and employees need to be selected for different assignments. Given autonomy, employees naturally gravitate towards colleagues with work habits and styles the same as their own. The work culture of the privileged group dominates the allocation of the best tasks and assignments in the personal networks. Diverse people with a different work culture are not actively discriminated against, rather simply avoided. They cannot develop their judgment capabilities nor show what they can do, but wither away. Companies mastering new activities can embed D&I as follows. They appreciate that the inclusion of diversity in the work leads to greater openness and flexibility, and thus more agility in carrying out tasks and assignments. Also, there is a greater sensitivity to new activities arising in the spectrum of customers, creating more opportunities to be the first mover. This shift to D&I is supported by reorienting networking and mentoring activities to take advantage of the potential of diverse people. And the integration of task outputs is restructured to support the inclusion of diversity. Building more openness to diversity into the company also raises the openness to working together in general, thereby increasing internal alignment. To develop and retain employees without discrimination, mentoring needs to be formalized with a tool named ranking in task performance and applied to each individual equally. Each major task for a given job category is defined, and for each task different skill levels, from beginner to expert, are specified. This raster is used by the mentor to evaluate the current skill level of each employee, including D&I skills, and to identify the next tasks, assignments, and networking activities to optimize every employee's individual development to the next highest skill level. Recruitment and promotion decisions can be based on agility in carrying out tasks and assignments and in pursuing opportunities. Finally, rewarding and motivating employees can be based on two dimensions: the contribution to organizational performance and the personal development of themselves and others. On the whole, the capabilities for empowerment and agility are expanded for the inclusion of diversity in such companies. Another source of competitive advantage is to enhance lifestyles. Consumers feel spoken to as a complete person, able to realize their personal vision of the person they want to be or become, like with a Mustang or convertible sports car. Companies pursue the vision of meeting latent demand in order to give the good life to stakeholders. This often involves products which themselves are like a vision in that they unify multiple and contrasting elements to enrich multifaceted lifestyles. Employees can pursue their wishes for their personal development, often involving a career path with work in different functions to unfold different aspects of themselves. Thus, they realize their professional vision of themselves, bound up with a strong identification with the company and allied work colleagues. This leads to strong emotions at the workplace, where employees need to be diplomats in working together to synthesize across multiple functions the multifaceted products. Ideally, the employees resonate with one another to together raise their engagement. The emotions and enthusiasm can lead externally to products which are too latent in that there is in fact little demand for them, and internally to faction building amongst employees with strong positive and negative emotions for each other. The potential for discrimination lies in this allying, where there can be a tendency for privileged people to join together based on similarities and regard diverse people as other. Diverse people rarely become insiders but remain outside key organizational happenings. Companies enhancing lifestyles can embed D&I as follows. An organization open to diversity will perform much better in the key aspects of understanding latent demand in the spectrum of customers, as well as synthesizing across functions the different elements of the products. The inclusion of diversity is supported by specialists who know how D&I is to be implemented in the critical interfaces of cross-functional collaboration. Improved interfaces in collaboration will form the basis for better insights in understanding the latent demand of customers. In addition, it will open up allying to more diversity and less negative-based factions. The specialists in D&I will create guidelines for the inclusion of diversity in the cross-functional work. 360-degree feedback will inform all employees where they stand in meeting the guidelines. The feedback is discussed with coaches who also support all employees in realizing their wishes for their professional development in different functions. Recruitment and promotion decisions can be based on the contribution to the synthesis across functions, as well as the contribution to realizing the vision, including D&I. Finally, rewarding and motivating employees can be based on two dimensions: the contribution to organizational performance and the extent to which employees exemplify the vision. On the whole, internally, the cross-functional work in employee development, and externally, the multifaceted products, are marked by the greater inclusion of diversity in such companies. The last source of competitive advantage to be considered here is just emerging in the past 10 years in a small number of companies. They create benefits in interrelated personal, social, and natural contexts to magnify their positive impact. Consumers gain benefits in multiple interrelated contexts, like from an electric car, which gives meaning to themselves and others. Companies pioneer a new paradigm in which business earns profit by acting in the interest of nature and communities. This often involves converging technologies to create new products or even new industries. Employees challenge themselves to grow beyond their limits with like-minded colleagues. The work is complex, and thus employees need to dedicate themselves to the work like a disciple and reinvent themselves in the team potentially every day. This pioneering approach to a new way of consuming and working can be too demanding for stakeholders, limiting the appeal of the company. The potential for discrimination lies in these high demands. Diverse people struggle with many challenges and may regard the pioneering issues as not particularly relevant for them. Diverse people may not feel spoken to as employees. The pioneering products and industries may be most relevant to privileged groups. Companies generating interrelated benefits can embed D&I as follows. The inclusion of diversity will push the company to broaden the scope of employee benefits to make them more relevant for diverse people. Given that company benefits are interrelated, diverse employees will feel addressed only when diverse consumers are also addressed, with products generating personal, societal, and natural benefits for them. The inclusion of diversity thus needs to be built into all areas of the organization and therefore must be led by a multifunctional task force reporting directly to the CEO. The adjusted benefits will be broader in scope and perhaps less demanding, so the organization will operate and produce products that are more relevant to more stakeholders from all groups, privileged and diverse, raising the impact of the new paradigm. The task force will, on the one hand, broaden the challenges facing employees in their growth to include working with diverse people. On the other hand, the task force will focus the employees' interpretation of who are like-minded colleagues to be culturally neutral and just concentrate on the pioneering benefits. Because employees dedicated to the new, broad and pioneering benefits can come from all groups. Thus, the organization becomes open to diverse people who feel the relevance of the adjusted benefits. Recruitment and promotion decisions can be based on the contribution to the interrelated benefits and the contribution to the convergence of technologies, both including D&I. Finally, rewarding and motivating employees can be based on two dimensions: the contribution to organizational performance and the contribution to the pioneering. On the whole, the interrelated benefits are expanded for the greater inclusion of diversity in such companies. Organizations can embed D&I in 4 steps. First, they determine in which 2 or more competitive advantages they are strongest to identify the key priorities. They secondly evaluate the extent of discrimination in the priority areas in order to thirdly design the appropriate initiatives. They then implement the suitable mix of change management and process initiatives. During these steps, they constantly check alignment with the mission, vision, values, strategy, and business model of the organization, along with the alignment to the expectations of the important stakeholders. The steps can be conducted quick and dirty by drawing on a few key decision makers for information, analysis, and conclusions, or conducted more thoroughly with a wider range of sources. When organizations change themselves to embed D&I, they will benefit from further insights into internal processes and external competitive advantage found in my managerial framework named 5D Value. For more information, see videos on this channel and visit my website.